Hello and welcome back to my channel. I am Liz, the cross stitching diva, so called because I love to cross stitch, and also my job description is as an opera diva, along with working in arts administration. It has been since November since I uploaded a video, but that is not the last time that I recorded a video. I actually recorded a video back in January, and I went over all of my goals and what my methodology for 2025 was going to be. And when I got to the editing process, I just wasn't happy with my video. I went on some rants and raves about different things, and I wasn't happy with it. So I scrapped it and I told myself, okay, I need to sit down and I need to re-record. So now that it is, as I'm recording this, February 20th, it's finally time that I am able to sit down and record a video. Now, because it is late February now, my goals for 2025 are much more realistic. And so I want to kind of do an expectations versus reality of what my goals for stitching for 2025 was. And so the first thing that I'm going to just kind of hop into is the fact that I set a goal for doing 100 stitches a day on a project. Now, the project that I wanted to do this in is my Disney stained glass piece. Now, the issue that I ran into was this piece is so heavily confettied, as I can show you here, that picking it up every day and doing 100 stitches, sometimes in 100 different colors, was just not what I wanted to be doing. It's a gorgeous piece. It will get there eventually, and in fact, I've restarted this piece, if you've watched my previous videos, because I had not a great version of the pattern. It is a pattern that is taken from copyrighted material, and people just make patterns of it. So some of them are good, some of them are bad. It is what it is. But I got about a week and a half's worth of stitching in on this, and I kind of just gave up. And part of that was because of how I store my floss. Now, for this, that project has probably about 150, if not 200 colors in it. And instead of grabbing all of my floss keepers for that, having everything ready to go in the bag, I instead wanted to grab, because I use Pattern Keeper, I can see what colors are in the 7 blocks that I wanted to do for that week. And so I went ahead and would grab all the colors for those 700 stitches at the beginning of each week. Well, that comes to be a lot, especially as I had other projects going. I have a master set of DMC. I use the Annie's Keeper system. So like I have a project bag here. This is just an Amazon bag, but I have all of my floss on floss drops, and they're all labeled. And I have my master set of DMC. And so for each of the projects that I have going, I've got my floss ring for the project itself. And then instead of having 10 different floss drops of 310 going, I have a ring that has all of my floss that is used for multiple projects. And so when I'm stitching, I know that I can grab the bag that the project's in, as well as grabbing that shared floss ring, and I'm good to go. I have everything that I need. And so I just find that to be an easier way for me to get through everything. Now, of course, I know that there is slight variations in DMC colors, which is why I go ahead and I purchase all of the DMC that I need for that project to get through, knowing that when I'm doing all of these projects, I have enough of the same lot number of DMC to be successful. A lot of it is 310. I think I have, I'm probably sure I have like 12 or 13 projects going right now, and at least 10 of them call for DMC 310. It is what it is. And so having to switch out that floss every single week was just not it for me. So expectation, do 100 stitches a day in this Disney stained glass piece. Reality, put it aside, pull it out when I feel like it, but right now it is in its bag, all of its floss is away, and I'm just focusing on other things. Now, my next goal that I had for myself was to participate in WIPGO for the first time. So I have 25 patterns that I have selected, and I'm going to show you 21 of them now, and then I will show you the other 4 that have already been called for WIPGO as I'm going through kind of the next part of my stitching. So all of the patterns that I'm using can kind of be divided into 3 different categories. And if you really think about it, there's 2 different categories. I am a fancy lady stitcher, so all of my patterns for WIPGO 2025 are either Mirabilia / Nora Corbett's, same designer, just the size and complexity of them, and then Bella Filipinas. So my 3 Mirabilias that I have for WIPGO are the Muse. This was a gift from my mom about a year and a half ago. And then I've got Royal Games 1 and 2. So Royal Games 1 has the Queen of Hearts and Spades. And then Royal Games 2 has Diamonds and Clubs. I was so graciously gifted these fully kitted up for Christmas by my wonderful, wonderful aunt. And so these are on my WIPGO board for this, this year. None of them have been called yet. For the Royal Queens, I am stitching them on just a plain white linen. I do not know the name of it offhand. And then for the Muse, I'm stitching it on the called for white chocolate linen by Witchold. So in addition to that, I am stitching all of the Nora Corbett Bewitching Pixies from the first 2 series. And I'm doing all of them on a 32 count Lugana Gray Magic by Stitch Me. This beautiful marbled fabric. Now, one of the reasons why I did not actually go forward with my last video is because I had gotten that fabric, and when I was working with it and starting to get things measured out so that I could cut everything and be good to go, I realized that I had ordered a yard, but the measurements were not for a yard. And so I was freaking out. How do I make this work? How do I make this fit? And when I actually then looked closer and measured the fabric, it is supposed to be a 32 count. Because it is hand dyed, I believe, it is actually closer to a 35 count. So it is much tighter. It is much smaller. My yard is a couple inches shorter than a yard. And so I had to measure everything out, think of everything as a 35 count, and then adjust how I was cutting the fabric in order to get all of these pieces to fit on this one piece of fabric. So I kind of went on a little rant before I had realized that it was a 35 count of how do I make this work? How does this happen? What's going on? Is a yard not a standard measurement? It had shrunk because of the dyeing process. So it is what it is. I figured out how to make it all work. We'll see if my measurements were actually correct in the end. But because I am working with patterns that are taking up different sizes of fabric for each of them, it wasn't like I could just say, oh, I'm going to start in the top corner and give it this much space. No, like some of it was, okay, if I'm doing a center start in this piece, and it's the, I believe I did 3 rows of like 4 patterns to be able to get it to all fit. This one is taller than the others. This one is wider than the others. It isn't like it just lined up perfectly. And especially I'm somebody who likes to do a center start. It just was a mess to get started. But to show you the patterns that go along with that, I will go ahead and just get started. These are the ones that have not been called yet. I have 3 that have already been called for WIPCO. So starting with Eva, and then I've got Gwen, Mari, Emmy, Cleo, Gigi, Minerva, Electra, and then finally Raven. And like I said, 3 more you will see in kind of more of my project updates because they've been started. Now, the last set are my Bella Filipinas. So the first 2 I'm going to show you, and then I'll show you the fabric. The others I will show you the pattern, and they are all on the same type of fabric that I'll show a little bit later. So the first 2 that I have are Luna Mystica and Sol Tropica. So Luna Mystica is the moon, and then Sol Tropica, sun, and I just thought they were absolutely gorgeous. Now, because they go together, they mirror one another, I wanted to put them on the same colored fabric, and so I was trying out a lot of different things. I use a website that I'll link down below that allows you to kind of try out different fabrics by different designers and see what the pattern looks like on top of them, which I find to be just so helpful and so wonderful. And so I was kind of inspired by the green in this, but was trying to find something that would still work with her green hair and have the purples pop nicely on it. And so what I found was, and it's still in the bag, this lovely Fern Fairy by Fiberlicious Yummy Fibers. It is a 28 count linen. And it is just this beautiful marbled, mottled green that leans towards a greeny blue, which I thought was really going to make her hair pop and really incorporate the purples in her while still allowing her to look right in place. So those are my first 2 Bella Filipinas. The rest of my Bella Filipinas that I have, I'm stitching on I See You by Fiberlicious Yummy Fibers. And so I'll go through those really quick. I've got Aquamarina, Heiress of Atlantis, Mermaid Treasures Amethyst, Crystal Mermaid Aquabella, Maiden of Tabataha, Pearl of the Orient Seas, and Temptress of the Cursed Seas. Now, with all of these, I am just doing the DMC right now. I have not ordered any of the Krynic. I've not ordered any of the beads. I'm getting them digitized so that I can use Pattern Keeper for all of them. But other than stitching the DMC, I am just focusing on that and getting them digitized because I work with Pattern Keeper. Now, I will be trying to see if I can get these scanned and working in Pattern Keeper properly. But for the first one that I worked with, I hand entered all of that in just because I did not have access to a copy machine at that point in time or scanner. So those are my WIPCO projects that have not been called yet. I've got 3 more Bewitching Pixies and then 1 more Bella Filipina that has been called on my WIPCO board. Now for WIPCO, my goal is to get 100 stitches per week in. And so I usually focus my weekend time on that. I was not successful in January, but I have been successful in February. And I have gotten a little bit more time this last couple of weeks, and I have incorporated the January WIPCO projects into my lovely temperature stitching rotation, which has allowed me to get some more progress done on those. Now, temperature stitching was the next big thing that I added to my goals in 2025. I had not heard of it before I had fallen down the Whip Go and goals and Whip Parade videos back in early January, late December. And I just loved the idea of having a bunch of projects that you really like on rotation, but not really having to make the decision of, what am I going to stitch today? It's like, let me go ahead and pull out my phone, and like today it is, I'm filming this first thing in the morning. It's 13 degrees outside. So today I will, if I have time to stitch 100 stitches in my project that is in my number 3 spot, which I believe is actually, I want to say, my Zodiac girls. So let's get into what I have in each of my temperature stitching slots. Now they are numbered, you need to choose 10 projects, 1 for 0, then 1, 2, 3, all the way up through 9. And so the very first one that I have in my 0 slot is another Bella Filipina, another fancy lady, and it is Bellatrix. And so this piece I am stitching on Ice Queen, 28 count Lugana from Be Stitch Me. And I've gotten, sorry about that, my camera cut out. I'm using all of the same color thus far, and slowly but surely getting started on her gorgeous dress. Now with this has not been necessarily called a whole lot in terms of temperature stitching, but this is my go-to piece to take to work with me. Now my work, I don't just sit there and cross stitch. However, I'm somebody who doesn't tend to eat lunch a lot. And so on my lunch break, I will pull out my stitching, go sit with everybody else in the corner that's having lunch, and be a part of conversations and just be stitching in the corner with my little fabric and tablet and needle and floss. And so that's how I've gotten as much progress on this as I have. Which isn't a whole lot of progress, but it's something. And so that is in my 0 slot. I am not going to keep saying the numbers because I will get off at some point, but just to kind of give you an idea of that. So my next project that I'm working on is one of my January Whip Go goals, which is Anna, another bewitching pixie. And she has not gotten pulled out as much as I would have liked, and I'm trying to make sure that I have her going the right direction. I think I do. But this is what I have started thus far with her. It's all 310. It's all 310. And so with this, I got not as much stitches in January as I'd like. So I went ahead and I put her in my temperature stitching rotation to try and get as much done as possible. Now my next number slot, I actually have 2 different projects going, and they are 2 of the Nora Corbett Zodiac girls. So I've got Sagittarius and Capricorn going. Now, the reason why I have 2 going right now is because Sagittarius isn't done yet. I had hoped to do all of these, again, another goal that's expectation versus reality. I've been hoping to do all of these within their own season, and that's just fallen to the wayside. With Sagittarius, she's absolutely gorgeous. I've gotten a decent amount of progress on her, but I still have so much of her hair to do, especially down in this area. And all of her hair is done in a Karen Water Lilies. And so that is a variegated thread. And so doing the process that I like to stitch in, which is, I believe the continental method is what they call it. You do one leg all the way down of how many ever stitches that you have, and then come back and then do the next row and continue as opposed to doing a full X each time. Now when you're working with variegated thread, obviously that doesn't work as well, because if you're going for longer swatches of color, it just will not work out. It does not variegate like it's supposed to. So you need to be doing a full stitch each time in order to get the look that is charted and designed for. So when I have the patience to work with this in that method, I'm happy to pull it out. But most of the time that I'm working on it, I don't have the patience to be doing the individual X's each and every time. And so I've got another Zodiac Girl started, and this is Capricorn. Again, she's just started. Hasn't been pulled out a whole lot with the temperature stitching, just because of what the temperature's been like. And so I had said, I think that no, that's the number 2 spot. Number 3 spot is what I need to pull out today, which is another one of my January Whip Go goals, which is Xenia from the Bewitching Pixies line. And she has actually gotten a decent amount of work on her done. So you see her goblet and glove and starts of her dress. I've worked mostly with DMC on this, DMC 310, I should say. All of this is DMC. Again, this is Gray Magic by Stitch Me. And so progress is being made. I actually have met the goal for her in terms of what I wanted to get accomplished in Whip Go. But I don't know if I'll continue to pull her out for temperature stitching in March, or if I will put my February Whip Go goals in. I have a lot to kind of figure out with all of that. Now, one of the pieces that I'm not going to pull out and show you is my mid-century modern ornaments, and I got it up here on the screen for you. I am not going to show you because all that I have accomplished is just frocking some stuff, and so not much to show there. But I frogged a bunch of metallic thread that was off because of a counting error, and so a little disappointing that I have to restitch all of that metallic floss. It's a DMC E Epoli, I believe. And so it's just a pain in the butt to stitch with, but I need to get this right, and I figured out where my counting error was, and I frogged everything that I needed to frog to be able to move forward. So my next piece is my favorite piece that I'm working on, and so I'll go ahead and pop a picture of it up here. This is the Blackwater Sirens stitch along, and as you can see, I don't have the complete pattern up here because it is a stitch along. They have released the first 6 parts. I've completed the first part and have started on the second. I am doing it on the called for fabric from Under the Sea Fabrics, which is called Dark Waters, and I got the opalescent 14 count Ada, and this is what I have thus far. So as you can see, it is gorgeous. It is shiny. I have the beading done in part 1. There was no back stitching in part 1, so I was able to just get everything knocked out for part 1 over the last couple of weeks. And this piece is just absolutely gorgeous. I am enjoying stitching it so much. And it has been my more frequent, okay, I'm done with temperature stitching. I've done my Whip Go goals for the week. I'm going to go ahead and pull out Blackwater Sirens. And so I will not end up catching up at this point, I don't think, just with how my schedule is and how wonderful these releases are. I just don't have time to catch up with everybody, but I am working on it, and I'm hoping that I will have that piece done by the end of the year, knowing that it is a massive piece and it is absolutely gorgeous, and I'm having so much fun stitching it. So the next one is an oldie but a goodie. This is Garden Prelude by Mirabilia. And the last time you saw her, she was basically done. I mean, she was done. Dress, hair, body, violin, background, and by background, I mean the pillars. The rest of the background needs to be stitched, which is the garden portion of it. So I have made some progress over here. So I try and show you. But slowly but surely getting the garden of Garden Prelude in. I had initially hoped to have this piece finished by last July because I wanted to get it finished by the time that we moved into our new office. Well, we didn't move into our new office in July. In fact, we moved into it last week. And so now I can officially say that I did not meet the deadline of getting that finished before I moved into my new office. But also, July to February, bit of the, okay, why would I even want to stitch on this? Why would I even want to work on this if this isn't going to happen? Or at least happen soon. So I kind of lost the stitching bug for that one a little bit because of the circumstances. But she is in my rotation. When the temperature is right, I have been working on her and pulling her out and slowly getting more and more progress on that garden done. My next two projects are my 2 Whip Go goals for February. This is just helpful to me to be able to pull them out more if I'd like to, and just get some additional work on. So the first one is Luna by Nora Corbett from the Bewitching Pixie series. And now this one is difficult to see how much progress I've made because it is all purple on this very purpley gray fabric. Obviously this will pop much more when it has the surrounding floss around it, the surrounding colors around it. But I have a goal to do another 200 stitches in her this weekend, which should be an easy thing to do. And she will have hit her Whip Go goal of February, which is awesome. Now, my last project to show you is Enchantress of the Abyss by Bella Filipinas. Now, I am stitching this and the rest of my mermaids that aren't on that Fern Fairy fabric on I See You by Fiberlicious Yummy Fibers, 28 count linen. And so, as you can kind of see here, it's this beautiful blue, but it is an ombre fabric. Now, when I got the fabric, it was dyed in an ombre opposite of what I had hoped for. That's on me. I should have communicated in like the messages of, hey, can you dye it so that it is, the ombre is going, technically it would be or vertically. So this way as opposed to this way. I didn't know how to properly communicate that, and I didn't properly communicate that, so that's on me. So one of the fun things with that then was I started this piece and I went, oh, well, I'll go ahead and I'll stitch one piece up here and then I'll stitch one piece down here. And so when I originally started, I oriented my fabric like this. Well, it's not the right dimensions to stitch it that way. So I think I have a picture of everything that I had done thus far in this project. And so I ended up having to frog all of that and restarting because again, I do center starts and it just wouldn't have fit. So this is what I have done now. Actually, I believe I'm holding it upside down. So this is more accurate. So this is little bits and bobs of her hair. And so I got about 500 stitches in originally, and then had to frog everything. And now I've gotten about 450 stitches in. So she has hit her goal for the month of February for my whip go. Very easy to stitch, very fun to stitch, but the fabric just kind of threw me for a loop, which I feel like has been the theme of 2025. The fabric has been throwing me for a loop because I've been getting larger pieces of fabric as opposed to a bunch of smaller pieces, just because it's more cost effective that way. And additionally, I'm trying to figure out mottled fabric and ombre fabric and all of this hand-dyed fabric. And so it's just been a lot of trial and error. So that is all the stitching that I have to show you. Now, expectation, 100 stitches a day in stained glass and 100 stitches in my temperature stitching, plus trying to get all of the Zodiac girls done in their Zodiac season, and doing whip go for 100 stitches per weekend. And I've gotten down to, if I feel up to stitching, I'll do temperature stitching, or I'll pull out my Blackwater Siren sow, and then trying to get my about 400 stitches in of each of my whip go goals. And that's just what I've been able to do. Now, why? Why has this been so difficult for me to stick to my goals? Now, I was somebody who was stitching pretty frequently, almost every day, and I lost my stitching bug a little bit. And part of that, talking to my therapist, was I was depressed. Just plain and simply, I was depressed. And so doing the things that I love is more difficult when you're just not feeling up to it. And so I've been struggling with depression and anxiety recently. It's just not been fun, but I feel like I'm starting to get past that a little bit and able to really focus on what I need to be able to focus on and meet my goals that I have set forward for myself. In addition to that, a lot of my time has been eaten up recently by a wonderful, wonderful person. And I've started dating, which I've not done a whole lot of in my late 20s, early 30s. And so I'm dating another musician. He's absolutely wonderful. My camera battery's about to die again. So I'm dating this wonderful musician, and it's great. It's wonderful, but dating somebody requires time. And so we've been spending a lot of Saturdays together, weekends together, and then every night we talk on the phone. And so I've been trying to get better about having myself all set so that when I get the "can I call you soon," I've got my stitching near me, I've got everything that I need, I've got my water, I've got everything that I need to be successful, and I can just sit and talk to him and stitch on my projects. And for the first couple of weeks of that, it was just like, I want to give you my full undivided attention. It's just like, I don't need to give you my full undivided attention. I'm giving you my attention, and I'm able to do other things at the same time. So that's kind of my life updatey portion of my video. And so with all of that, that is expectation versus reality and why of my goals for 2025. If you are interested in following how this year goes, I'm going to try, keyword try, to do a video at the end of March. Hopefully a progress video, go over what I was able to do with Whip Go, what I switched in and out for my temperature stitching, and kind of give you an update on all of that. In addition to that, I do now have a pattern that I created so that I can show you how I digitize patterns in Pattern Keeper. And so I will be at some point trying to figure out how to record that video and get that up on my channel, just because I know that it's helpful to some people. Yeah. So with all of that, go ahead and hit the like and subscribe buttons down below. If you're interested in watching more of my videos, please make sure to hit the subscribe button, hit the bell notification so that you get notified when I upload, because my upload schedule is all over the place. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day, and I will see you next time.